Hey everyone, welcome to the Sharon the Red Baron show. I am Sharon, and I wanted to share with you why I created this channel. I think it's undeniable that so many of us realize we are in the Great Awakening. Like literally, this has been written about in every religion. It's just a matter of interpretation. And I love, 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 love hearing everyone's stories on their Great Awakening, whether it's spiritually, leaving a religion or gaining more spirituality, signs, synchronicities, awakening politically, like things don't make sense. Like I just love this because everyone is so unique in their own stories. And I just think that's so cool. And these are my type of people. And with that being said, I would love to introduce you to my dear friend, Shelley.
Hi, sweetheart. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Shelley. Thank you for being here and sharing your awakening story. It's going to be a crazy show, I can tell.
It's going to be a wild ride.
Yeah. Well, listen, Shelley, so Shelley is going to share her experience in leaving the Mormon church. I do want to say one thing up front, and I think that a lot of us can agree about this is by no means are we dissing anyone that goes to church or the church. Um, it's more or less the higher ups, if that makes sense, and people recognizing what seems right, questioning things, and so forth. So we both realize that the community are amazing people. That's one thing that I have also found is the community, that close knit, like they want to help each other, and I love that. And instead of other podcasts where everyone feels a little bit angry and so forth, like this is, I like to go about things a little bit differently. So that's just me. So Shelley, can I ask you, I always love to ask my guests, are you a believer in signs?
Absolutely.
And
Stop
if
sign, especially. Yes.
oh,
No, actually, that's how I keep from crying. See, I have all my tissue ready, but I actually do believe in signs because I'm here because of signs. Like I'm still on the planet. There was a time in the 90s when I was about ready to take my own life because I was so disillusioned and
sorry, Shelley.
disappointed and knowing something was out of alignment, not
Mhm.
knowing how many systems were out of alignment, but at that
Mhm.
time realizing something was really not okay spiritually. And I say spiritually because I hadn't had any kind of spiritual awakening yet. Really, I'd had a little bit of crumbs along the way, but it takes a
Mhm.
lot of courage to face and look at it. It's so much easier to just avoid and escape and not look, be
Yes.
distracted. And I couldn't distract myself any longer. And I nearly took 200 Tylenol PM. I had them all out and a gallon of water ready to take them all because I wasn't a cry for help. It was, I really want out of here. And my sister ended up calling me right then and saying, "Do you want to go to Maui?" I didn't even know where Maui was. And I was like, "Sure, I'll just put these away and get these out later." And
Oh
same
boy,
time,
now that was a sign.
that's a sign. That's
Gee.
divine intervention.
I'm
You
so
know,
glad you're still here. I would
boy,
never have met you at our Ishmael event.
I
You're very
know.
special to me, so thank you.
I feel that you've been so good at empowering me, staying in contact with me, because you haven't really heard the whole story, but I have given you little nuggets along the way when we've connected. And so
I know you have. I've
you're
picked
really
up on that.
trusting, not knowing where this is going to go. I've been really trusting, not knowing where this is going to go, but I have made lots of notes.
Wow, look at you.
Like I want to
Well,
touch on this, touch on that. But thank you for making the distinction between the leaders of the church. We're going to go by, this is called the church here in Utah, especially, and the people, because the souls, what I know from my own experience and what I know from keeping really devout Mormon friends is they're God loving
yeah.
and humanity loving, and they just want to do the right thing and they want to go to heaven. And
Mhm.
that's the hook, is if we can just jump through all these hoops and be really obedient, maybe, just maybe we'll get to go to heaven.
I already know we're going.
Isn't
I'm
that
just saying.
freeing? Just to know.
I think a lot of us are going even without a church. So just saying.
Just saying.
Just
That's
saying.
been my biggest breakthrough. See, you made a note about that. Biggest breakthrough was that not believing in a wrathful or punishing God anymore, but knowing that there is a loving creator. At least for me, I believe in a creator, and I believe in a creator that loves me without conditions. And that has been the most freeing thing, is the trusting of that and knowing my faith never ever wavers with that, even though my faith had been broken in systems, religious and others, so.
Yeah. And that word systems, do you feel like it's just, you recognize that word is in so many different aspects of our lives, that word system? What are some other words? System, programming, I mean, it's really in our faces, and a lot of us just didn't realize it, and
I wasn't just indoctrinated in the church. I was indoctrinated into believing to give my power away in so many things, educational systems.
I think a lot of us are realizing that too. We've been giving all of our power away to other people instead of ourselves, for sure. So can I ask you, did you have a nice trip in Maui?
Oh my goodness, I came alive. I came alive in Maui. And actually, when I came back home after a week, now my kids were young then. So I came back, and as much as I wanted to be back with my children, it was winter time here in Utah. And I came back and I just wore my sarong around the house every day, like depressed, like I just want to be back in the motherland.
Oh, I know. Gosh. Well, now, it's kind of a mess over there anyhow. So
I have loved ones over there, and it is so sad and hard. That's a talk for a whole other time.
Yes.
I had my Maui shirt on today, like Maui strong. So, that a friend gave me from there. So
right. Well, Shelley, can I ask you, how long were you in the church?
Oh my goodness. And like 35-ish years, like that. Yeah, because I was in my mid-30s when I really started to take a hard look. But I do want to start. I'm so glad you started with the whole, we're going to keep those devout members that live from a heart-centered place, from the leaders of the corporation of the church.
Yeah.
I wanted to start off with this because I wanted to write it down, because I want to embody this today, and this is my intention, is Saint Francis of Assisi's prayer. So if you'll just,
I'm listening.
Me. Lord, make me an instrument of peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born into eternal life. And, the dying part is the dying of my ego mind.
Yep.
And living from spirit, living from heart. So
I'm so proud of you. That was beautiful.
Thank you. I'm just so grateful. And it's because of souls like Wayne Dyer sharing this on PBS decades ago that it went right in, and I went, wow, how freeing is that?
Yeah. Wayne Dyer, oh my gosh, when my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, she always, we were brought up Catholic, and she went to church and all, but when she got really sick, she went more into Wayne Dyer, and it was like I saw something turn in her. She wasn't scared anymore.
Wow.
It's like something inside of her. I remember one of her best friends that she worked with in the hospital, and she's like, your mom's not afraid of dying anymore. So
that is huge.
Right?
What a gift.
I think when people finally get that aha moment, like there's way more to us being here in our journey and so forth. It's so much more than we were ever told.
Oh,
That's how I feel.
absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
every single person that listens to this down the road and so forth, like you all matter. You're important. And I feel like in society, we're all labeled. And that's why people just don't feel like they're important anymore, that they matter and that they contribute. But enough about me. So,
No, no, no.
and
I'm
my
so
thought and
glad.
stuff, but I want to hear, so
Yeah, my
you've been
journey.
for 35 years? 30,
Yeah. And then some, so I did the dance of dipping my toe in the water to see, could I take the plunge? So there was a lot
mm-hmm.
of toe dipping for years.
Toe dipping. I like
Yeah,
it.
let's get into that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was raised, I wasn't planned. I came to a family where my siblings were already ages 12 through 20 when I came along. So mom and dad did not plan me, but they did the best they could with surprise, I'm here, you know.
You were a pleasant
Yeah,
surprise.
there you
That's
go. I
for
was something, I
sure.
don't
I love
know.
it.
So
The pleasant surprise ones are always the ones
the
I
fun.
feel that
I have one of those myself, but
I was
every
a pleasant surprise.
surprise you are too. See, I have a daughter that is that I hadn't planned on her, but every time it's her birthday, I send her a little Cheryl Crow meme with "You're my favorite mistake," you know. So
Oh, that's so cute. I
I
love
was my
Cheryl
mom and dad.
Crow. Oh, so she knew. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
she
That's
knows.
good. That's good.
It's a
That's good. I
joke,
didn't
but
find out till I was in my like early 30s. So I was kind of
oh,
surprised. I was
really?
like, what? What is my sister? Okay, I gotta just share this real quick and I want to get on,
Please.
but it's actually pretty funny. So for Mother's Day, we would always take my mom and we would get together because I was a mom and we were all moms and my Grammy. And we would go to this place, this seafood restaurant called the Weather Vane in New Hampshire. And it was funny. We're walking out, and I don't even know how we got on the subject. And my sister's like, "You were in an accident." And I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I look at my mom, I'm like, "Mom, what is she talking about?" She goes, "Oh, Sharon, you were a pleasant surprise." I'm like, "What?" Anyhow, I can laugh
It's always had good
now,
to have
but
it reframed, right?
it's funny. So I digress. So, okay. So you were
How
in.
many light workers out there were a surprise? Like
Oh, I have a
we're
theory
going to come
about that.
however that looks,
I
right?
have a theory on that, but that's a whole nother
Can't
story.
wait to
But
hear about that.
so you were dipping your toes.
Oh,
So,
so the dipping the toes. So I grew up with a dad that was so devoted and devout in his membership in the church that he took a job. They all lived in California, in Northern California, but they
mhm.
wanted to come here to Zion because, yeah, this is where the saints gather. And this is supposed to be where the last days and all of that, all the prophecies. And so my mom
Mm.
was all about, let's go back to Utah. She was never from here, but she felt like she needed to be. And my dad took a job as a CPA for the Mormon church downtown Salt Lake, the church office building.
Wow.
And he
Mhm.
worked under the direction of 5 different prophets. And so every dinner when he was home, he was kind of workaholic. He decided that if he's going to give that, he's going to give everything to the church. And we just need to know he's providing for us and he loves us. But that's where his main focus was. And so
Wow.
sitting around the dinner table, it was just me, him, and her. And there was always talk of the church was always the topic, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, there was that. And then he joined the Tabernacle Choir. So I was almost always down there on Temple Square. Like I always just joke around about I was raised on Temple Square. I don't know about y'all, but I was raised on I was
That's
always there,
cute.
you know. So always at the practices for the Mormon Tabernacle Choir and always for the live broadcasts and things like that. So
Wow.
it was
Did
a
you
way,
like being there when you were younger? Did you
you
like
know,
it?
I could probably teach classes on being a people pleaser because I just wanted so much to be obedient that I did find joy in that. But I know now that had I not been raised in a religion, it was the connection with source that I really loved. It's the feeling, the one with God, you know,
Yes.
however God is for anyone out there. You know, for me, it is my creator. But before, like I said, it's been free not to have, it was always the assumption that I better be good so I don't get punished. I better be good because God's testing me. I better be good.
Oh.
And then in the Mormon church, I've listened to a lot of your interviews and I was wanting to kind of cherry pick certain things that maybe I didn't hear touched on. And one of them would be, the songs. I mean, from the time I was tiny, the songs that go on in primary with the little children are all about being like Jesus, and follow the prophet, follow the prophet, follow the prophet. And in fact, today I looked up, I think I made
love
notes about the songs because I was like, oh yeah, there's messages here. They are in these songs.
it. Ooh. Okay,
So
I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole because you know me with
that,
my duality. I listen and I hear both sides. Uh-oh.
oh gosh. Okay, so let's see, the primary songs. Well, primary songs. I'm always trying to be like Jesus. That would be in one of them. And so there's always that try and strive. Oh, here we are. I am a child of God. That's a song that all children in the Mormon church sing.
Mhm.
And some of the words in that are, I am a child of God, and so my needs are great. Help me to understand his words before it grows too late. So there's a threat there. I
Yeah.
better be good before it gets too late. I
I
better
picked
not
up
veer
on that.
from that path. This is the only path to God. Teach me all that I must do to live with him someday. So there's
Mm.
this programming of the doing is what's important, the doing, where really it's the being now that I've come to realize and
I
know.
agree.
Yeah,
Because we all are sinners. We all make mistakes. I mean,
we all miss the
for
mark.
people to keep judging other people that, ooh, they did this and they did that. Well, listen to yourself talking about them. I mean, it's that full cycle. And yeah,
Yeah,
wow. Yeah.
absolutely. I can't really judge others because I've got a beat up stick on myself all the time. Like, and that's what I realized too, was I didn't have to worry about facing a God in the next life that's going to judge me, because
Mhm.
no one could judge me more than I judge myself. I mean, come on.
That's a
It's
good
going to be,
point.
if there's a life review, it's going to be me saying, dang it, why did I do that? Like, couldn't I have been better with
I
that?
love you just the way you are. Don't ever change. You better promise me that.
I'm gonna do. I'll maybe not change, but I will grow. That's my goal.
Yes,
Keep
I like
growing.
that. I like that. That's a good one.
So, and
Wow.
I've looked at what did I keep and retain from the Mormon Church,
Hmm.
that rather than throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So I would say the good news, even though those were the words in the children's songs, um, the good news is I did learn about how important family is, because the
Hmm.
whole goal is to get the whole family to heaven. Not just one person goes, gotta get everybody there. So if it takes guilt and shame, so be it. So spoon feeding
Oh,
every day, daily guilt and shame, daily guilt and shame is
oh,
given. And
yeah,
so, society
yeah.
does it too. It's not
D-
just within churches, but
Yeah, can I ask you, do you feel that there was a lot of pressure um that people, well, that's a lot of pressure where people were doing that to others, like the shaming and the pressure of you need to be like this, you need to be like that, instead of you just kind of flowing with what you transgress into, because we all do that. We're all on this journey going, what's today gonna bring, and what am I supposed to do in life? And like all those questions. I mean, that's the whole journey. But do you
yeah.
feel like that people are pressured to put that pressure on other people within the church? Does that make sense?
Well, and there's no, as an adult, I realized if I was sitting in judgment of others, like, look what they're doing. Oh, look, she's wearing spaghetti straps. She's on an airplane coming to Utah with spaghetti straps. Oh,
It's getting straps on. They're like,
horrible.
oh,
You
you
got to
look
get
like
her
a
in the
hobo.
church. She's going to hell.
Oh, oh no, I'm not. And they can kiss my ass. But it's funny. Yeah, I was really, really taken back. I'm not gonna lie. That was the first time I ever felt like, I mean, I never
Absolutely
moved
wrong.
or anything. It was just weird because I'm like, the last time I checked, I say it all the time. The last time I checked, I make my own decisions, and yet they were making the decisions for me. I'm like, no, that doesn't work for me.
Okay, that gives you a taste. So There was
Yeah.
no making our own decisions.
Wow.
So there was a go along to get along. There's a lot of obedience and conformity, obedience and conformity, obedience and conformity. That's what it is. And don't step out of line, or there will be an example made of you.
Oh,
Know?
I would never have survived. I would have been the biggest black sheep in that church. They'd be like, we can't break her. We can't break her.
And I was just telling you right before this call that if you had been my friend from the time we were 3, 4, and 5 years old on up, we probably wouldn't be having this interview today, because I would have seen the light real young and thought, yeah, I'm out of here. Screw you guys. You know?
Yeah, we'd be out in nature. We'd be making our own tree swings and stuff and just,
And our spaghetti straps. Yeah.
yeah, you bet. That's
And our
awesome.
shorty short Daisy Dukes. Yeah.
Yeah, those days are gone, but yeah, we could have.
And then the children, and I don't remember if the others that have talked to you about the Mormon church have talked about different than the Catholic church where the babies are baptized. These children were baptized at 8 years old. And the rationale is we're old enough to make these adult decisions about being a member. No, we're not. Not at 8 years
No.
old. We
Kids
didn't,
can't even put their
choosing.
socks on right at that age. Come on.
I know.
Their hair's all knotted and matted up and all that,
If you
like,
can't
come
brush your
on.
own and comb your own hair, you shouldn't be getting baptized and making those kind of decisions. Absolutely.
Wow, I did not realize that. So
Yeah,
8
so at
years
8.
old.
So there's a lot of pleasing, if I want my parents to be happy. And I grew up in the Depression. I grew up in my mother's Depression. And a lot of that I feel too was of all that she had to meet that she couldn't meet and felt like she fell short,
Yeah. And
And
no
I
one
wasn't
likes to feel that way.
no one likes
That
to feel
makes me
And
sad.
I was like late 30s, almost early 40s when I realized she'd been a closet alcoholic for a long time.
Really? So
So,
you didn't know about it?
she was in her room a lot with the door locked, but her behaviors,
Oh,
there could have been a little mental illness there too, but her behaviors were such that so I didn't grow up, an adult child of an alcoholic, but not the kind of alcoholic where, oh, my parent showed up at my birthday party and ruined it all because they were a mess,
yeah.
it was more of a closeted thing because she didn't
Yeah.
have any coping skills. She was self-medicating, and it's just sad to see,
Oh,
it's hard to,
yeah. Do you
this is
feel
a
that
lot.
she was starting to feel things that weren't right as well within the
She would never
church?
have addressed that or talked about it, but there's a lot of pressure to be perfect. There just is all this pressure that, and I don't know if she did this before this happened, but I had an older sister that, oh my God, got pregnant in the early 60s, mid 60s in Farmington, Utah. It was a little bedroom town where everybody knows everybody's business. And
Oh,
what a black eye to my parents. What an image, it was ruined because she got pregnant because there's no sex until the wedding night ever. And it doesn't matter. I mean, I had sex with one guy in high school, and it didn't matter that I only had one guy and only a handful of times because I might as well have just slept with the whole football team because it's such a bad scene.
that's a personal joke of mine. I think.
I mean,
Oh
it's
boy.
bloody. Doesn't matter if it's one person. If it was behind the reason of I was in love, it's not that I was horny. I was in love, but it doesn't matter, And that was hard for
Yeah.
her. That was
I
hard for my
can't
sister.
imagine what that felt like. I mean, for any woman that would go through that, that's just, see,
Yeah.
those are the things that just break my heart for people. I mean, I don't see how people can just easily go and judge someone by knowing them within, 2 minutes without knowing the deep inside. And that's one thing that I'm starting to find with these interviews is even though there seems to be like this compassion that you're all taught, it seems like there's no compassion to others with all these rules. It's just very confusing
It's
to
a
me.
huge contradiction. It's a huge contradiction.
Yeah.
And I can say I don't have a conscious memory of being physically or sexually abused in a leader's office with the door closed. But I
Mhm.
will say there was always the shaming and an uncomfortableness that occurred because I would be reminded and told there were the questions. I've heard these on your other interviews about, are you touching yourself and stuff like that. And I'd be like, I don't even know why they're asking. Like, why? Why are they asking this? Are they getting off on this? Or they really need to know? Does God need to know? Well, wouldn't God know? Like if it's that bad, sick and wrong. And as an adult now, I realize who had the right to touch me more than me?
Right? That's
I'm
a
going to be
great
made
point.
wrong for
What?
that.
I mean, I love I'm laughing but at the same time, that's a really valid point. At least you weren't sleeping around. And it's
Right?
like that song, the Divinals or someone sang that back in the day. I touch my.
I remember that one.
I remember my girlfriend Lisa back in the day. Anyhow, that was a trippy song, but I loved what you just said though. I mean, that reminds me of recently, I don't know why this popped in my head, and I'm not going to say names, but a gentleman had shared some information about how he ended up going to Boy Scouts, and he was somewhere around between the 11 to 13-year-old mark, and he went to the Boy Scout camp out in the canyons there in the mountains, and he, I guess he said that about half of the kids that he was with recognized this and the other half were oblivious. But they said that their counselor, I don't know what the right term, but the person that was the chaperone, he was a man, and he was from the church, and they found porn
Oh,
in the cabin. But here's the creepy part that I was like, oh, that is not okay. He said that he was playing up the whole nature thing, and when it came to showering there, he was like, no showers tonight, boys, you can just get in nature and take all your clothes off and jump in that river. And this gentleman said he even knew at that age that that was creepy, but when you think about it, that's a way to groom people, and that's messed up. And if I had a gun in my hand back in the day, like that could have gone bad. Do you know what
that
I
was one of your
mean?
kids. The mama bear would come out.
I would have freaking ripped his nuts off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. But I
Yeah.
mean, that's what parents really they need to stop being afraid of this church. I mean, with that new bill that passed about them now having to report every single abuse, that's opening the floodgates, because every parent,
Thank
and
God.
even if it happened to them 30 years ago, it doesn't matter. And I don't care about this stipulation of like, oh, there's only so many years and you're past due. No, it's like everything else. Rules for you, but not for me. No, 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 no.
Right.
That's just
I know.
wow.
It is, it's very upsetting. And I personally know souls that have been sexually abused in the church, and it's very sad. And that was,
Did
and
you
that's,
see, can I ask you, and this is your story, but can I ask you, when you found out, did they share the story with you in confidence? And then did you watch their behavior after? Like, what was that like?
well, to not speak on others, I'll just speak for myself. But I started having nightmares with little bits and pieces of puzzle pieces coming back in when a really close loved one of mine had been molested. And then my own memory started coming back. And it was my brother, who was 12 years older than me. And I was about 3 and he was 15. And when I got pretty clear that it really was him and these really were real memories, not any kind of false memories, then I got myself into counseling and talked about that. And then I confronted him, and he denied it. But then he
Oh,
ended up getting
Shelley.
cancer. And before he died, he wanted to clear the space with me that he had. But he
Oh,
was really crude
Shelley.
about it when he wanted to admit it. And I was just like, I don't even want to talk about it now. Like, I've already done the forgiveness stuff. I've already let it go. Like, I know you need to get it off your chest, but I don't really want to talk about this now. But I'll tell you what, when you
Oh,
talk about
So
Uh,
sorry, Shelley.
oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. It's, you know what, though? I realize that it gives me compassion for those that go through this. So if
Yeah.
I had to go through that, and the good news is I didn't remember. So I didn't carry it with me throughout my life, but it did affect the decisions I made because I never felt worthy of marrying a return missionary. So the girls are
Mm.
groomed to, okay, keep yourself moral and virtuous. And for
Which we
these
all know that a
guys,
lot of them weren't.
hello.
Just saying, you can all admit to it now. You're not going to
Because if
tell
you're
for
the
that.
one that that stays like this, then you can marry a son of God that's a returned missionary in the temple, and that is the end all, be end all goal in the church, is having that. And I just didn't ever feel like I was deserving or worthy or valuable for that, and I didn't
Oh,
know why. And then it
Shelley.
made sense. And I was like, oh, every decision I made had to do with this unworthiness that was there on some level inside that I wasn't even aware of.
That makes
So
sense. But that's what I'm hearing a lot is it's like that emotional abuse that you're always second guessing your
yes,
behavior and your choices and just overthinking everything. And it's almost makes you paranoid. And when you get paranoid, your body just it just turns into a hot mess.
it is a hot mess. And there was always this low level anxiety within me that I didn't even know that's what it was. It was just always rumbling under the surface. And trying to keep those feelings pushed down. Um,
Like you had your shit
it's
together
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
I'm keeping it
outside.
together. Yeah, I'm keeping it together, keeping it together.
Nothing wrong
For image,
here,
yeah,
as
I'm good.
the
I'm good. I'm picture perfect. Look at me on social media. I got it all together. Well, before social media, it was just the I'm good. I'm this mother in Zion and everything's perfect. But it is really like holding a beach ball underwater. It takes so much energy and
yeah.
effort to wear that mask and to be that image. And that was the point I was going to get to, was in the bishop's rooms. Um, as a teenager, is it was told to me and other girls, you have to dress modestly. You need to have, things up here and things covered, skirts.
No spaghetti straps.
Yo, yeah, yeah, of course. At least the arms have got to be covered. So when you get those garments, or I always would call them Jesus jammies, like
Jesus,
you had
Jim.
the covering and the skirts below the knees. And I was told, and so were the other girls, if you dress immodestly, it's your fault that you're tempting these young men. So we are the harlots. See,
Oh,
we are the
oh, I
harlots.
would never have made it in that church.
Oh
Mm-mm.
gosh, I just love that you're a
I would
Christian
have turned
teacher.
everyone else around. I'd be like, this is wrong. We got to get out of
This is
here.
BS. Yeah. This is like,
Let's get out of here.
and then there's me, like, I just want to get to heaven. So, okay, I'll do that. But there is that whole go along to get along, go along to get along.
Shelley, but you just said it perfectly, though, that, I just want to get to heaven. And that breaks my heart when I hear that because you couldn't even express. I mean, that's what we were all given as something special within us. I mean, we're so much all alike, but yet there's still that little light that's different in each and every one of us. And they took that from you, and I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, there is no individuality. Thank you for
Oh,
that. Because no, there's no uniqueness. Everybody has to conform and fall in line.
that's a bunch of bullshit. I'm
It
just calling
is.
that out because
Yeah.
I want to see children and kids be unique. Because think about it, Shelley, how the heck do we ever move forward if we're just stagnant and we're all the same? Like things are going to pop up. You got to come up with ideas and solutions, and that's just dumbing these children. In my own personal opinion,
No, it's true.
that's dumbing your children down. That pisses me off. I
Yeah,
don't
well,
want anyone
yeah,
to dumb down
as
my
you should.
kids.
Yeah, and it does me too. And actually, coming out of it, it is a fog. It
I
literally is a fog where I couldn't even see my hand in front of my face. It was so thick. But as the fog lifts and I'm willing to see, then it's like, it's horrifying. Like it is upsetting. The betrayal goes deep. I felt super betrayed. I have been. I guess I could still currently own it. I've been pissed off. I am pissed off.
good
This
for
should help
you.
actually, this should actually serve talking about it because to be honest with you, even though I haven't been an active member of the church since close to 2000, so we're talking almost 25 years now, um, talking about it, there's nothing, the only thing worse than a non-Mormon to the Mormons is a former Mormon. We know too much. I was a card-carrying member. I had been in the temple. I knew all the covenants, all the promises that are made. I know what went on there. And they don't want us talking about this. So when they
I know
realize,
why.
oh, I don't talk about this stuff with current devout Mormons because they don't want to hear it. And why waste my breath?
Yeah. Why?
Honestly, but you knew when I first met you, like, oh, I'm free to talk about this. And the other souls that were in our event that we were at were former Mormons.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're amazing. I'm just so glad I met all of you. You're so special to me. And
and
I already know, quote me on this, everyone. I just don't know exactly when, but people like yourself and all the others that are rising and shining are going to be the chosen ones. They're going to be the ones. I already feel it in every sense, because people like you have gone through hell and back and then some, and you're still standing. You are still like, you know what? I matter. And everyone else, but you've been hurt so bad that you said it earlier, you don't want other people to go through this. And you know what? That is a true leader. In my book, that's a true leader. And you're going to be helping a lot of people. I already feel it. I already know it. It's happening.
For me,
Here we
not
go.
ever choosing to be an EMT because I can't handle seeing blood, guts, and broken bones and things. I feel like you and I and those other souls that we're aware of and know and connected with are EMTs spiritually, because we're going to be doing life-saving skills mouth to mouth.
I agree. I agree.
First aid that way.
But I also think that people such as yourself you're going to show people that, how can I say this? That whatever they've been through, whether they're still having a hard time understanding why things had happened to them, it happened to them because God chose them and knew how strong that they were, that running into people such as you and all these other people on interviews. And, when we met, like, you were supposed to meet these are going to be your new family. These are the people that will never push you down, that aren't going to keep trying to push everything on you and rat you out. And like, things are changing. It's going to change. I'm telling you, everyone, I'm placing a big old bet right here. In the next 2 years, the church is coming down, and it's going to come down hard.
Wow, it's time.
I feel it.
Beyond time. So if it's going to, we'll just pop popcorn and
yeah, I love popcorn.
And be ready for our EMT services that are going to be really, really, really needed and deserved.
Yeah.
And what you said too about being special and chosen.
It hurts.
There's a knowing. Well, there's a knowing, and there's the beliefs. And what I was taught to believe was, in the Mormon church, we were all special and chosen and separate from the world. We were all told to be in the world, but not of the world. And we're special and we're chosen, but the others, we need to get them into the church so they can also be special and chosen. And the dichotomy, the hypocrisy is, you'll never be good enough. When you realize, after all the hoop jumping, all the hoops I jumped through, I would never be good enough to really make it to live with Jesus and God. That would never happen. And that's, I think, when the wheel started turning, was like, how many hoops am I going to have to jump through here? Like,
no shit.
So many. But now what I know, between what was a belief that was taught to me and what I know in my heart of heart and natural knowing, a gift from God, is, yes, I am special and I am worthy. But you know what? So is everyone else.
Yes. I didn't want to interrupt, but you just nailed it. Like, here, all these people are like, oh, they're not good like us. I mean, that's how everyone compares their religion. And what people don't even realize is that you were taught that in your religion, that your religion is better, when it's all the same. And
I
it's just
know.
another different type of label that we've all been labeled. And it's all labels, labels, labels. They're everywhere. You
Yeah.
look every which way, it's a label. And that's the part that I find disgusting, to be honest with you, because
It
if we
is.
had these leaders, you know, they know that I think there's a larger percentage of people that are your leaders within any church that know exactly what's going on. And that is brainwashing
Yeah. There's
because
the
it makes people to
controllers.
stop ask questions. People stop asking questions and they'll be like, oh, I guess that's just the way it is.
That was my whole life. I never asked because I was taught it's not good to ask. I was bad if I asked. So did I ever
Did
need,
they directly say that? Like you just listen?
it's very implied. Don't question. Now, one thing, this is what's interesting, is this brother of mine, we only had one brother, the rest were all sisters. And so
Mhm.
the one brother, when he was in his 20s, maybe early 30s, he left. He hadn't been active in the Mormon church ever. I think once he turned into a teenager, he was just like, this is bullshit. I'm out of here. And did the drinking and the smoking. And because we're not allowed to drink or smoke either, not even coffee or
But
tea.
even though a lot of them do that and they get their plastic surgery and all that, but no big deal, whatever.
You have to do it like in the shadows. Yeah, but yeah,
Right?
get your prescription drugs. Yeah, to
Yeah.
knock you out because
Yeah.
it's too depressing to be conscious and aware of all the BS going on for
It
sure.
makes me, okay, people, I don't mean this towards you, but it makes me want to punch all the people that were pushing that down your throats. I want to punch them in the face for even doing that to you, your children. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what pisses me off. I mean, we're all a child of God. We all have that inner child. Like, do you find one thing I can see with you, Shelley, is you found it like people would laugh at that whole like finding your inner child, but I see you found it. Like you finally found it after leaving the church.
Well, you know what? And it actually was kind of before it was in the questioning phase. So I will give, when I met you at the event we were at, I was asked all of a sudden, did I want to talk about my story? And I was like, where do I begin? I don't know it wasn't about my Mormon story. It was just about how did I awaken? And I
Yeah.
would say like, I did address the fact that when I was in my early 20s, the movie Out on a Limb with Shirley MacLaine came out, and it was based on a book. And it was her realizing the divinity within her and everyone else. And it was her
Mm-hmm.
journey to go from being surfaced and shallow. Not that everybody in Hollywood's surfaced and shallow, but that's a whole nother. We know what's going
Mm-hmm.
on there. But she
Mm-hmm.
had attained all this success and what human the society would say is success, and yet there was still something really missing within her. And
Yeah.
all the perfect people came into her life to show her. And so just like that with me, all the perfect people, all the books fell off the shelf that were supposed to fall into my hands. That movie came on and I watched it, and
And she's badass too. She doesn't
she
put
is
up with any
badass.
baloney. I like that.
Yeah.
That's one thing I like about people such as her is, and I love it, like people like you, we're all starting to stand up and claiming our own power. Like, enough of this bullshit. You're gonna stop labeling me, you're gonna stop calling me crazy, or there's gonna be a problem because then I'm gonna turn it around and I'm gonna start judging you. Is that what you want to do? You know, no one wants to do that. That's stupid.
And those that do want to do, I don't even want to mess with that. Like, I don't have time
Yeah.
for that. That's
It's like
bullshit.
silly girl games, isn't it? It's like
It is.
immature,
It's junior
silly
high
little
all
girl.
over again.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, did I ever get
And
out
they're
of
still
junior
doing
high?
it as adults and they don't even realize
I
it.
know, I know.
I'm not laughing at
No, it's so
anyone,
funny.
but
No,
it's just
I know.
people don't even realize that that's been happening and they don't get it. And
No.
that's the part that breaks my heart.
It is. It is heartbreaking. Well, I have a funny story about last week too. Can I tell you where it comes to
Yeah.
the brethren? I almost hate to call them the leaders of the church because a true leader leads out and wants others to realize they're leaders also. So I think I'll
Yeah.
just call them the controllers because the controllers just want to control. There's no
Yep.
inspiring in any of that. Where true leaders will inspire the greatness in others. But
I
I'll
agree.
go quickly. I did so that was dipping a toe in at that time in my 20s as a ooh, maybe I don't need religion. Maybe all I need is what's within that God gave me, the spark of
Yeah.
God, the spark of divinity that lies within all of us. And then there
Yeah.
was the, oh, but I've got to, I don't know, what if I don't get to heaven? So then there's that whole fear again. And so, but then, a few years later, then I end up working for someone for a short period of time where she introduces me to, she and he introduced me to the Celestine Prophecy. And I read that book, and that was awesome because that's all about raising consciousness and awareness. And then I ended up reading the Four Agreements. Then I ended up reading
Good.
Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, and the 10 Commitments rather than the commandments. I was like, oh, you mean I'm not commanded by God to do things? Like, it's actually like just the
That
rule.
I love how that was just worded.
Yeah.
Command,
Why
commit.
would God command himself, herself? Why?
I agree.
God's
Because
not
people don't
controlling.
even realize this is what I love. People are literally awakening like yourself, and they're really starting to listen. They're like, there's something to this. This isn't make believe. Like, I better start listening right here.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's like they found the person they were always meant to
To be.
be. It's just there's no more labels. There's no more people pushing you down, telling you can't do this and that. I don't know about you, but I've always had a problem with people telling me what to do. I do the opposite.
Actually, I have too. I have had a real disdain for authority figures that
Yeah.
press down. I don't like it. And yet I was always taught to conform. So there's the mask of, oh, okay, I'll go along. But inside the resentment was just there. Like, I
Yeah,
what
you're
you're telling
like,
me I have to do, but I won't like it, you know. So,
yeah,
but now
and no one
this is a
likes that.
turning point because I'm risking, that I've been really hesitant about doing this because I didn't want to lose friends that are currently Mormon. And
Yeah.
what I've been looking at over these weeks and months as it's gotten closer is no, I don't want to hurt them, but at the same
Yeah.
time, it would be really freeing for me finally to speak my truth. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's got to bust through that bubble.
Shelley, I'm so proud of you because think about it. Think about how you're going to start a movement for everyone else to start speaking their truth of this never felt right. Why
Yeah,
did I have to go? Why was I miserable during my whole? I mean, that's another thing I'm realizing is so many people I've
depression.
been interviewing, they've never been happy. They don't
Yeah,
know how to be happy. And
there's moments of
that
joy.
is not God loving. I'm
No,
sorry, but bottom line, this is just common sense 101. Like, that is not loving. And what I love though is you're going to start a movement. All of these people doing these interviews, seriously, this I feel it. I already know it. This is going to happen.
and
And
to be
what
honest, I as I asked myself, and I did some journaling about this upcoming interview, I asked myself if just one soul that's
yeah.
questioning it, the gospel that they've been told is the gospel and the only roadmap to the only true church, if they're questioning that and it's just one soul and they come out of it renewed and dropping the shackles,
So they
it'll
never have
all
to
be worth
feel that.
it.
Yes, that's what
You
I'm
know,
talking about.
whether or
And
not
it's
it's a movement or not is okay. It's just one soul.
yeah.
It's beautiful,
But
but
you know
it
what? One soul. Think about that.
has
That's
great
like a
worth.
real good mentor, like the real movies and things that you see where people have no ulterior motive, no, like it's my way or no way. Like the true teachers that encourage your kid to bring that uniqueness out, that what their special gifts are, and the teacher sees it instead of holding it down. Like, that's you.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
you.
Wow, you're so good for the compliments really go
Oh
in.
no,
They go
I
deep.
mean it.
That's
I
so
mean it.
sweet.
I feel
That's
this,
so
Shelley, and there's millions and millions and millions of people around the world that feel this. They feel this is it. Like, people need to
something.
shit or get off the pot. Like, they need to start asking questions because there's going to be it, it
Stuff's going down.
it's going down.
There is a
And
rumbling. There is a rumbling. And when you said that you felt like I found my inner child, I did, after reading Conversations with God. Then my sister, the one that said let's go to Maui, she got invited to a leadership training here in Utah down in Bluffdale called Impact Trainings. And it's under impacttrainingsslc.com. But anyway,
okay. Mm-hmm.
I went with blind faith. I
And
was,
what's it
I was
about? What's the
really
group
scared.
about? What's the group about? If you could
It's
explain it just a little bit.
finding their inner child.
Okay, okay. I just
It's
wanted to
easier to say
clarify
it's
if
a
it was that
leadership
or if
training,
it was the church part. I wasn't
but
sure. So.
it's similar. I don't want to say it's Tony Robbins, but it's kind of similar to what he teaches with going in and finding the gold within. You know, going through and dismantling all the patterns and beliefs and finding what's really there inside. And so that was beautiful for me. And it's also, I've heard, I don't know because I never went through EST, but our friend John Denver went through EST
Yeah.
and came out of it with all those songs that inspire, you know?
I just read an interesting article on him that popped up in my feed. There's no coincidences on that.
No.
I almost didn't read it. It was a Playboy article, and I can tell you right now, he's telling you who he is in that article. You just have to read between the lines, but I digress.
Nice.
But you're right. That's exactly what he was trying to share with people. He was all about, and I think you already know this about me. Like, I could give two shits about anyone in Hollywood, but there's something special about John Denver, and just
Yeah.
saying, because everything that he has said just resonates. And he was being truthful even back then for people to awaken within themselves, not this bullshit corporate church of any sort. Like, it was always in
Exactly.
you. And that's, you got it. I'm
Exactly.
going to
So
send
that's
you.
where I found it. Was it impact? And
Wow. I actually posted his
so
article
that
from
was,
yesterday in my community page on the Sharon the Red Baron show. So you'll have to read it. He's telling you.
I'll find
That's
it.
one thing
I'll
in
love that.
entertainment. They're supposed to be honest in documenting things. That's another whole story people are going to have to understand when it comes to entertainment. I'd love to be able to help them down the road, but they're supposed
You
to
will.
speak truth. They're supposed to speak truth. And if people can learn to read between the lines, he's saying,
Yeah, there's so much there. I mean, once going down the rabbit hole, there's endless rabbit holes.
I
Holy
know.
cow.
Don't you love going down them? But then there's just more and more and more. And
There's
you're like,
more.
oh,
It's actually hard to resurface because once I get going down, it's like I just want to keep, I'm a seeker. I'm a seeker. I want truth. I want wisdom. I want
yep.
truth so I can live from wisdom. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, but I would say,
Yeah.
yeah, so that's where I found my inner child, my soul, my spirit, and could come out of it saying, I know who I am. I'm
Yeah.
divine.
You are.
Find me
Everyone
in love.
is.
And so are you.
Beautiful part. And like, we're starting a movement, girlfriend. Like, I love what you just said, because that's what it is. We all have this spark. It's in your face and everything, your songs, your music, your TV shows, your movies, everything. But yet your religion,
Yeah.
your corporate religion,
Well,
is
and
the
let me tell
one
you
that
about
doesn't
this
speak of it.
corporate religion
Just
doesn't
saying.
want its members putting their nose in books like Conversations with God and the Four Agreements and
Love the
anything
Four
else
Agreements.
that's out there in print that
Spark the inner child.
yes, it might raise awareness and consciousness. Let's not have that. And when I was going through that training, there was actually a message read at the pulpit about do not do these trainings. And I
Programming.
was like, that for me was like the last straw of, you're going to tell me that something that had such profound value for me is something that is being blacklisted here. That's not a no-go. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. And I'm going to keep telling my friends and loved ones, family, if you would like to go, there's a safe space to go.
Yeah.
Take on limiting fixed beliefs, dismantle the personality, and come out with the real soul. And so
Yeah.
that was for me the last straw. Yeah.
I am so proud of you, Shelley. That's it. We're creating a movement and it's happening. I'm telling you, it's happening. I love it, because finally everyone can be their unique selves. They can be different. They can be loving. They can be a community. And I feel like a lot of people that are leaving the church is they want to create a new community, but they don't want to be angry all the time. They actually want to celebrate having a new family that, like, oh shit, Bob, like, we literally went through all this, and you came into my life and you came into mine, and we're going to help everyone else, but we're not going to preach. We're just going to share our experiences so they can feel it rising in them as well. That's how this
why would I
stuff
want to
works.
preach? I mean, I'm not, I got to tell myself how to live my life. I am not an expert to tell anyone else how to live their life.
Me
I'm not
neither.
going
Yeah,
to. Nobody
because
will tell you.
exactly. It's like government, big
That's how you.
pharma, schools, blah, blah, blah. I gotta ask you one question though. Okay, so when it comes to, okay, this is one thing I get a little goofy giddy about because I've heard this from a lot of people within the church about a lot of the women, they'll get like their lips blown up and like their boobs and all this stuff done. Not that I'm like judging them, but my
I
point
know.
is
I know.
they're told you're not supposed to do that. So if they're still going to church, how are they treated? Do people act like, oh, it's no big deal? Or these are the questions I always love to ask though.
I've
So,
been out of this loop for so long, but what I can tell you that I've noticed, because I
mhm,
was at that ilk of, I did that. I didn't do the boob job, but I did a tummy tuck, and
mhm.
to try to be enough. It's all based on not enoughness. Maybe
Ah,
if I do this, maybe I'll be enough.
I'm so sorry because
Yeah.
you're just so beautiful the way you are. And here I mean, it's like me in my 20s, I got a boob job. I got a boob job because like literally my boobs, like I worked out a lot. I love the weights and all that. That was more my thing. And whenever I would jump on the treadmill, like the next day, like my bras would be poofy. And I'm like, I'm stopping working out. And I'm not so, and I'm kind of bummed that I did that now that I recognize that. And then I ended up getting the mastectomy, the prophylactic double mastectomy, which is preventing breast cancer. And that is people need to start doing their research. I'm going to open up a can of worms right here.
Yeah.
What you're going to find out, what big pharma and your doctors don't want you to know, is that, and I'm not going to say any articles or anything because I want people to start going down and asking their own questions. People, they don't even perform mastectomies in other countries. This is the same surgery that they want to give little girls who want to switch their gender. And they know it is documented. They know that women, when we go through menopause, we literally go within and we feel like we are going crazy. I mean, men, you're not strong enough. God made us the stronger breed. Just saying. But like, the hot flashes, the brain fog, and all that. But I want to encourage people to be open minded without judgment of me by saying this because I'm saying it because I experienced all these symptoms when I got that surgery right away. And
Wow.
I found I became very good friends with a doctor back east, and she was a mainstream doctor for over 20 something years. She ended up opening her own holistic practice. And she wrote a book about hormones. I want to encourage women that are thinking about that. I didn't mean to take away from this, Shelley, but I'm
Oh,
very passionate
understood.
about this. And it's just another lie we've been told.
Yeah.
And and they do it because I did the surgery because I didn't want to get breast cancer. I still had two young girls, and here I find out that I was an experiment, and
Mm.
they're saying that, oh, now you have like a 98% chance of not getting it. But yet if I had known that you were going to take my entire youth from me for like 10 years and being secluded in my own head, I had a problem with that. So
Yeah.
it's all right, but you know what I'm
No,
trying
I'm
to
glad.
say. We're
I'm
all
glad you
doing
shared
stuff.
that. Because when I did a hysterectomy, because I was told by a doctor, the white coats, they're gods, I've been taught
Mm,
since we were tiny that they're gods and always defer to them. And I did a hysterectomy, and who knows if I really needed it, but the hormones, once they are out of whack and out of balance like that,
yep.
there almost isn't any way of getting them back. But I did ask a couple of my friends that are awake and aligned. They said they did bioidentical hormones, and that has shifted everything
And what does
for
that
me.
mean? Can you explain that real quick?
So you can have a bioidentical hormone. So they sent me to their doctor, who's like this doctor you talk about that went to holistic. So she's like
Mm-hmm.
that too, and she does all the labs to see what are the levels of testosterone, progesterone, estrogen, and then
Mm-hmm.
depending on what those are in the individual, an individual cream can be made up so that it's exactly perfect, tailored just for you.
And
So
it's
I
not
don't have the night
synthetic either, though.
sweats.
Is
It's
that,
not synthetic.
see, that's
So
the thing that
not
I
like taking
found it.
Premarin. Yeah.
Yep, that's what my mom took. There you go. And my aunt, and they're both gone. So I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well,
from
when I
this.
talked to this doctor a couple years ago, because this has changed everything for me, I can sleep at night now, without all this hot flat, all the night sweats. And I was
Oh,
really like,
I wish I knew you back then. I was going crazy, legit crazy.
I'll give you
Right,
her
ladies?
contact info. You
We
go to
all
her.
know this. Oh, I
But
love it. Love it.
I talked to her and I said that day, I said, are bioidentical hormones the thing that Suzanne Summers would talk to Larry King about? Because Suzanne Summers talked all about it's hormones, hormones, hormones. And I was like, yeah, I got a lot of hormones going on here. I don't know what she's talking about, but that was years before. And this doctor told me, she said, Suzanne Summers still likes to have a period. I was like, she's in her 70s. I mean, by now, who knows? She's passed away now. She might have been 80s.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. But I said, she wants a period. There's a one that wants a period. She goes, oh, yeah, she loves the way she, I was like, well, go her.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm never going to have a period again. I haven't missed him a bit, but
You're right,
honest.
right.
But
Oh,
honestly,
I
if I
get
could
it.
go back and have the wisdom and knowledge I do now from a niece that's a shaman of ceremonially embracing womanhood, embracing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cycle,
And
all the
stop. Yep. I love that. And the more that I've heard about the shamans and so forth, I mean, people, these were the people that helped people before doctors were invented.
Yep.
And it worked.
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, I met a woman, oh my gosh, we could go on and on about this, and I know both our time, but we got to get going. But it's funny, I ran into this woman about that topic, and she said, I forget what country she got sick. She was traveling overseas somewhere. Oh, was it Finland or somewhere? I can't remember. But long story short, she was like the worst flu cold she had ever had. Like it knocked her off her butt. And here she is on a vacation and so forth. And one of her friends, I think, if I recall correctly, is like, let's go to this holistic doctor. And out there, they're not big into the synthetic stuff that our doctors are prescribing us in. Like they give you high doses of like certain herbs and so forth. None of this like stuff that you can pick up in a bottle, whatever. Like it was gone like within one day.
Oh, I
And
believe
that's how they treat it. Where in the US here, we're like, take this, there's that commercial. Like 60-70% of your commercials now are all pharmaceuticals trying to jam
Oh,
something
it
that's
is so
overpriced.
nauseating.
Gross.
I generally don't watch TV. I live with a husband
Yep.
that loves the news, and I do my best to just go, "Ugh," but when
Yeah, I
those
agree.
commercials come on, it's like, "Ugh," it's just
It's
disgusting.
brainwashing. It's
It
freaking
is.
brainwashing. And I know a lot of people that are watching this might be like, she don't know what she's talking about. That's like the stupidest thing. Well, I felt the same way until I started talking to more doctors. They're out there. Go
The
look it
real
up.
ones,
The
not
real
the
ones.
ones that are owned by the man, the real
Yep.
ones that'll tell
Yep.
the truth, the
Yep.
unpopular truth.
Yeah. But well, here's my question though. So how did people react to these women that all of a sudden show up and they had boobs at church and stuff? Like because you're not supposed to do that. So that's what I'm curious. I love these kind of like how did everyone treat them? Where we're like, hey, Darlene, how are you? Like how does that work? Or did they just ignore her? Like
Well,
how,
maybe
you
if
get
I
what I'm
lived
trying to
up in
say?
Park City, I could tell you. Because I'm down here in the sticks, so I don't know. And I don't know, I've been out of that for so long that
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
been to it. But I know it does make
But you
me.
know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, rules for you, not for me. And here it is,
Oh,
very obvious. And, I
well,
don't know. I don't know.
let's go into the rules for some and not for others. This leads me to this really funny experience I have to tell you the other day. So, that as we were talking about this interview coming up, that I've had 3 relatives pass away in the space of 5 weeks.
I'm
And
so
one was the sister that took me to Maui. So she truly was my angel. And her taking me to impact trainings made her my angel too. And so she passed, then her former husband, my brother-in-law, who was more of a brother to me than my brother, passed. And then my nephew's father-in-law, who I know well, but it didn't affect me as much as watching the family in so much pain. Like that's so hard. But so I went to that funeral. So there's 3 weekends of funerals, 3 in a row. And so
so
last week I
sorry,
was at
Shelley.
that funeral. And because I wasn't as attached to this individual, I was just more there for the family. The family was all leaving to drive quite a ways away for the burial. And I felt like when I go to a Mormon church house, and if there's like an event going on, like a dinner or a party or something, I always want to find my way back to the kitchen because I know the women back there are working really hard. They're
Yeah.
working their asses off, okay? And it's usually the same ones, so they're giving. There's a lot of sacrifice. We didn't really get into this, but if you sacrifice, you might get to heaven, so there's but a lot of
Every time I hear you say that, it kills me. I'm like,
the martyr complex. Yeah.
Like, I just want to throw up. I'm like, in the movies where you're just like, that just makes me say, wait till all the women truly awaken to all
realize
the
they're gonna be
lies.
pissed off. The resentment goes deep.
Yeah, we are gonna set a revolution.
You mean I didn't have to do that? What? Or I could have got a boob job and still made it to heaven. Okay, well, I'm 89, but I'm gonna go get that boob job now. So time to get them lifted.
Hey, when we said I want real ones.
The real ones, the real thing. Well, let's manifest that. We'll manifest.
Oh, I want those.
So I made my way back to the kitchen and I was like, can I, give a hand with washing some dishes? And they said, oh yeah, sure. Here's a hand towel. Here's a dish towel. So I must still have the Mormon aura because they think, I'm one of them. I dressed in a dress to go to the funeral out of respect. But so I'm in there and I don't ever go in with the intention of I'm going to overhear what they're saying. I'm just going in to be of service. And not because I'm sacrificing, but just because I know the work, the backbreaking work that goes into this. So what happened was they're talking amongst themselves and they're saying things like, oh yeah, well, we got to hurry and use this water washing the dishes while it's still hot. Ooh, the timer must be just right today. The sink's on one side and clear across the kitchen. These are big ass kitchens. Clear across is where the stoves and oven are. They would have to boil water, carry it clear across, a heavy, big water.
Oh yeah.
Dump it in the sink to wash the dishes so people don't get sick. Because if they wash with cold water, what kind of gumbo are we going to get? So they were talking about, oh, well, at least we had a little hot water today. And I was just like, what? And they were like, yeah, there's a timer on this. So it's usually just cold. And then they talked about, oh, and did you hear they're putting like a part on the ovens so it will only be warming. It won't go above 175 degrees. So everybody be aware, you have to cook your meals at home with your stove and oven and your gas. You have to
with all the money that they have in the church. That's what they're doing.
It takes someone like you to say that.
Sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but no,
it's hilarious. It's ridiculous. And not one of them ever questioned that. I was waiting for one person to say that. And not one person because they have.
I'm the first one that questions it, apparently.
I wanted so much to say that this church has more money than God.
You got all that. That's what I'm talking about. I mean, seriously.
Billions of dollars.
I think you know what? I'm not a part of the church, but after I've done a lot of my research and for how long this church has been around, I don't think it's billions anymore. I think it's
trillions.
Wrap your head around that. Honestly, I bet you they could fix the entire national debt.
Oh,
if I was in charge of a church, well, not that any of us would be or whatever, but if you're in charge of a church and you have that much money, I would be solving world hunger issues and all that. I'm so tired of hearing about how all these corporate churches want to help people and they give just enough. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of nice people and I know a lot of nice things have been done.
I know,
but my attitude is just like in our government and people, why the frick do they still have, our elders who were the hardest working generation? They're working, I say this all the time, but they're working at grocery stores and now their meds are half of what they receive from the government and all that. Fuck government. Sorry, exactly. I digress, but I'm at that point where I'm I call bullshit whenever I hear it now. And I hope everyone else calls it out too, just like you with the church and your questions and just, I'm so proud of you, Shelley, and you're going to touch a lot of people's lives. And
thank you. Well, it brings up one more thing since you brought up the trillions, maybe gazillions of money that they have. But when I was looking at the whole, they can't tell me what to do. I'm not going to be told I can't go to a leadership training, that kind of thing. It kind of dovetailed with, I was living in a ward. That's the local church, thing here in
I don't
Utah.
like that word ward. I have to
I
tell you real
know.
quick because it reminds me of a psych ward or a shrink ward.
Yeah,
Just
well, it
something
is
to
a
think
psych
about.
ward.
There
Let's
you
just be
go.
real. It's a psych ward.
Just
So
saying.
they
No
affect
one
the
else picks
psyche.
up on this. I'm like, why do you call them steakhouses and wards?
Yeah, the psyche is affected. It breaks the psyche. So it is. Maybe the word ward is absolutely accurate for what it is. But
Prison
there are
ward,
churches
psych ward.
in
Okay, I
every
digress.
neighborhood. There's a church house in every neighborhood. And the way the homes sell here is if you're within walking distance of a school and a church, that's prime property. I'm in that property right now. Like it's gold because you can just walk to church, it's right across the street, But I was gonna say I lived in a neighborhood where I was in my late 30s, early 40s at the time, and a single mom. And a lady a couple doors down was a single mom. She only had one little boy, but she had cancer. And I don't know what stage when I found out, probably third or fourth, stage 4 cancer. And she was having to work every day to take care of her son while getting treatments. She was an active member in the Mormon church. They could have paid for her to stay home with her son for the quality time. How long is he going to have his mom? And what does he get as his mom? A mom that comes home exhausted at the end of the day and she's doing cancer treatment and she's going to die. I don't even know what became of him. I moved before it happened, but I was like, she never got the help.
See, that's the stuff that breaks my heart. People really need to really dig deep on why the church isn't doing more of that. And my first question you may have heard me ask is, and again, I'm not dissing the people of the church. I am questioning the authority of the church.
Yeah.
First off, I think it's great that people go on missions, without a doubt. But my question is, why do they not help people such as the woman you were just talking about? Why are they not helping our vets that are living on the street? Why are they not helping, like seriously helping the people, single moms, the families that lost jobs, that need help with their groceries and this and that? And like, where are they? Why aren't they
Exactly.
doing that? That's my question. And that's when my
That's the
wheels.
$1 million question. That's the bazillion-dollar question.
I'm just going to tell you what I think. Shelley, can I tell you what I think?
Oh, please.
And I'm going to have to get going here in like
Yeah.
5 minutes. And I want to hear your words of advice too, or encouragement. But what was I just saying? What was I just saying about? Oh, I really do. My gut tells me now that they passed this bill for the clergy, and I say this not to be a jerk. I'm just sharing what I foresee. I foresee now that they open that bill up that the clergy has to report all abuse. I believe that their big time corporate lawyers are going to be really freaking busy. And I think
Really
it's,
busy.
I think they're going to be so busy, they're going to be shitting their pants.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think that when that starts getting out, it's going to encourage more and more people who were taught to be shamed and to not speak of these things.
Yeah.
It's going to cause a revolution.
Oh, we deserve that.
And I hope
This
and
world needs
pray
that.
that any person that ever touched or did wrong to any children, especially, I can't wait till they get what they deserve.
Well, there is karma. And
That's very real. Yeah.
and I had to forgive. That was when I went to that leadership training. It was the biggest thing I was carrying was unforgiveness and rage at somebody that molested somebody I loved. And when I realized that I didn't need to see that kind of justice happen, I didn't need to see the punishment. I just needed to know that it would all get handled. And it wasn't up to me to handle it. It was up to me to just deal with it and let it go and know that. But yes, these things should be called out. And I was the bad person because I called it out. Like I said, oh, this isn't okay. This person abused this person. And
good for
oh,
you.
I was the black sheep for bringing light to the
I'm
dark.
proud of you. We need more black sheep, and the black sheep are rising up. So my question to you is, so when people hear these stories of someone being touched and things done inappropriate and so forth. What have you heard? I mean, I'm hearing so many of these
It's
stories.
rampant.
What is their, how can I put this? What is their rationale within the church when these come up? I mean, how can they just push that aside? Because some guy is a fucking prophet, excuse my language,
No,
but
I
there are
know.
no freaking prophets here on earth.
No,
Get that through your head, people.
they're
There are
controllers.
no prophets. If a man has to call himself a prophet,
Yeah.
he sold his soul. That's
Yeah.
my personal opinion.
Well, we were taught in the church to believe that the prophet was the only one that could get revelation from God. Okay, so now that I know we're all prophets because we can all get revelation from God. So
Yes.
that was huge just to know that. But yeah, there's a lot of power and control. It comes from that. We were all taught we have to pray
Weird.
for the prophet, pray for his well-being, pray for, and yet let all these other things just slide. Don't watch this over here,
That's
don't look at that.
disgusting.
Well, and when
If
I went
people
to
keep, if people, I'm just going to set this for the record, Shelley. If people continue to look the other way, they will never be able to look in the mirror at themselves ever again. Think about that one, people.
yes,
That's
yes,
how I feel.
it's true.
I would rather be able to look in the mirror at myself than look at some freaking prophet who's diddling little kids or whatever else he might be doing. I want to be able
All
to
the
look
cover
in
up.
the mirror so I have the peace and not be told, like, no, no, sorry.
That's because you want to live in alignment. You want to live with truth.
Yep.
And that's what's sad is so many people don't want to live in the truth. They don't want to see the truth. The truth can be painful and it can piss you off.
Yep. But
But it
that's part
pissed
of
me
the
off.
awakening.
But there you
That's
go. That's the freedom. It's not easy to get liberated,
no, it isn't.
but it's a beautiful gift and it's a beautiful thing. And I'm grateful I had it. I'm grateful I didn't die
Yeah,
with 200 Tylenol PM
I
and
am
being
too.
disillusioned, you
Yeah.
know?
That's so that I'm so proud of you. I mean, you listen. I mean, you couldn't have gotten a better sign than that,
No,
and I mean,
that was God.
yeah, and it's not just people in the Mormon church. People are literally hitting rock bottom. That's what all those sayings that we were brought up. There's nothing but up by hitting rock bottom. I mean, this is my attitude. Don't you want to learn about yourself and listen within? I mean, we all were given this gift, they just pass it off as woohoo,
Yeah.
woohoo.
Yeah.
No, it's not woohoo, people. Don't fall for
Oh,
that
we were
crap
all
anymore.
taught that anything spiritual was the occult and that's of the devil. So don't do that. I actually had the church has their own counselors, just like they have their own attorneys. They have their own
Exactly.
counselors who are taught to go along the guidelines with the
You mean trained, trained.
trained.
We're
Yeah,
going to switch the propaganda on them.
them. I love that.
That's what I'm doing to everyone when people are like, ooh, that's propaganda. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'm sorry you fell for the propaganda that literally I'm showing something to you that's in your face. You were brainwashed so much. Like I flip it. I'm like,
As
oh,
you should. Well,
sorry.
I did go to that counselor with this heavy burden that was weighing really big on my soul of this has happened, this abuse has happened, and I'm having a hard time with it. And what I was told was, so basically, you're just telling me you won't forgive. So it was all put back on me that I was not being forgiving.
That is disgusting.
Oh, it was
I am
so
so
appalling.
sorry that you
Well, I
had to
didn't go
go through.
back for more of that counseling.
No, but for them to even attempt to make you feel like a piece of garbage,
Yeah.
that's not
Well,
okay.
let's just call it what it is, a piece of shit, right? Like
That's
you're
right.
shitty because you won't forgive. And then I also remember a separate time when when I was younger, there was a time when I was pregnant and not married. I mean, ooh, talk about the scarlet letter. Let's wear the scarlet letter for that one. In Utah, pregnant, not married. Okay. And I was pregnant and I remember like going and talking to my clergy, the bishop, about, oh, I feel so guilty and so bad and blah, blah, blah. But he also like drew this whole chart about, do I think, my thinking, or am I listening to my heart? And I was like, well, my heart says. He's like, that's the problem. You're listening to your heart. You have to listen to the gospel and the leaders of the church. You can't
Oh
listen to
my
your soul.
God, but Shelley, okay, so that validates everything. Jesus
There's your answer.
already, like everyone. Here's the funny thing is the people that I'm running into that have let go of the things that held them back, whether it's church, whether it's horrible, bad things that happen in their family or whatever it is, when you let go and you forgive, holy shit, these people that are rising up in the Mormon church, like, I'm so proud of them. Like, I can see it in their eyes, the pain, but they're utilizing that pain like you are to
Move
help
it forward.
others. Because at the end of the day, this is what I want to leave off on. At the end of the day, for people that are watching your podcast and in your interview and others, is, are you going to be able to look yourself in the mirror knowing that it's literally in your face and you chose to look the other way? Because when you're turning your back on people and children and bad things are happening to them, what if that was you?
Yeah, true.
Right?
Perfect point. Perfect point.
I am so proud of you,
Well, thank
Shelley.
you.
Well,
I'm proud of you for like just wanting to do this, and thank you for inspiring me to get out of my comfort zone, because that's where the
oh,
growth comes. And I've been real
oh,
good at being in my comfort zone when it comes to this kind of
I
stuff.
am
But
so proud of
I do
you.
want to drop a really good thing. I want
Yeah.
to talk about really quickly. I have a loved one that started a religious transition group. I talked
Mhm.
with him last week about, could I drop this information? And
Yes, please.
in 2003, he was one of the ones, and he's an extended family member. He and another extended family member would answer all my questions. They were the two I was safe with when I had questions about the Mormon faith and
Good.
all the roadmap and gospel and guidelines and everything, all the control. And
Too many
so
rules.
he knew that for him and others that he knew, that leaving the Mormon church means losing all the friendships and connections. So he wanted to have a safe place and a safe space where people could go and talk about their questions. And if they're going to, if they facing, are they going to lose their spouse? Are they going to lose their children? Are they going to lose their siblings? Are they going to lose, not just respect, but what relationships are they going to lose? And is it worth it? That's the ultimate question. Is this all worth it to feel free and to be in alignment with what's true? And so it's called the RTG, Religious Transition Support Group. And what he told me to say was, and then I can get on and type it out in comments too, but he said to visit the South Valley Unitarian Universalist Society. And on that website, you go to the category at the top of the page where it's getting involved, and you'll see the religious transition group. So here in Utah, and this is up and in the Salt Lake Valley area, they meet once a month, and it's a place to go and have community. And no
That's
judgment,
awesome.
just acceptance. Not
Ah,
tolerance means I'm tolerating your questions. Acceptance means come, welcome home.
come as you are.
As
Kurt
you
Cobain, come as you are. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. This is what people need. And also, can I ask, I'm sure there's a lot of deep conversations in what he's doing, but at the same time, can I ask you, do they give a lot of words of encouragement, like to just get out? You know what I mean? It just seems like there's so many people that are angry and hurt and beaten down so much. And I understand there's a lot. I mean, it takes people years and years, but at the same
Oh,
time, do they give that encouragement? Does that make
yes,
sense? Like
yes.
to just be you and just
To
cut
just
the
say,
cord.
hey, I walked this path. I'll walk with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's what
walk.
we need more of, because like I said, there are other podcasts where people, I do appreciate and listen to the people's stories of leaving the Mormon church, but at the same time, they're all angry, they're all mad. So we got to take that anger and that mad and we got to flip it and utilize it to help others, because when we help others, there's something that sparks on the inside. This is what we are all built for, to help each other. And I think that
Absolutely.
it's a full circle. So it works just as much as it works for the person that's the new person stepping outside of the church. It's also a new stepping stone for people such as yourself to help them, because I know people like you. This is what you're called to do.
Yes, yes,
And I
thank you.
love
And it
that.
does feel, I'm in alignment with my purpose on the planet. And what I was raised to believe was my purpose on this planet was to be a mother in Zion. So you can imagine I started popping out babies right away, really young, and then realizing, okay, well, I've done my purpose now, and depressed, and it's time to go home. I mean, I really was not in my right mind when I thought about leaving my children. I was like, well, their dads will raise them. And that was the most unfair and
That's gonna be so
selfish thing. But
hard.
at the same time, I just wanted out of the pain. So I have a lot of compassion for those that contemplate suicide or have done. I would never judge somebody and say, oh, they were so selfish.
Yeah.
When you're that stuck and you're that much despair, what else can you do?
Yeah.
But
And I'm
yeah,
glad you brought that up, and thank you
no,
for sharing that, because honestly, I really hope that Shelley's story is encouragement for you, because there are a lot of people within the church that are thinking the same thoughts of, it's not going to get much better than this. And I promise you, it's going to get way better. You're going to find your people. You're going to find people that are not going to judge you anymore. You're finally going to feel like you have true friends that have your back, a soul tribe. And please, if you're feeling that way, please go to Shelley's group. Start seeking out your soul tribe, because I promise you, it's gonna be worth it. You, just like Robert when he did his interview here, don't kill yourself. Don't kill yourself, because something big and beautiful is coming, and you don't want to.
the darkness wants those souls, the light extinguished. The
That's right.
darkness wants that.
So what can
So
I
be
ask?
light.
Yeah, and light is stronger than darkness.
Heck yeah.
And
Hell
we
yeah.
all
Hell
know
yeah.
it. And
The
I'm just,
Mormon me would have said, heck
um,
yeah, dang it. But no, hell yeah.
you can say that,
That's right, I
because
can.
this time is coming.
Okay. Well, thank you
So
for doing this.
yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank
Sure.
you, Shelley. And honestly, I'm just so glad that we've been. And everyone that I've been interviewing, that just everyone is just doing something within here that just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's really, really nice. And it makes me realize that I do have hope for humanity. I'm not gonna lie, for a while there and for a few years, when you kind of almost give up on humanity, and it, right? But honestly, listening to you and everyone else, it really gives me hope, because I see that none of us are gonna fail. This
Yeah.
is not going to fail if we all stop judging each other, labels, feeling unworthy, unimportant, because if you're listening right here, right now, you are important and you do matter. And
And we are
because
one.
we are one. That's going to be another discussion. We should talk about that another time,
Yeah.
because that really is a very valid, true statement. And I don't think people really understand. The people that are awakening, they're understanding it. But I do feel like the people that are trapped in a quote unquote corporate religion,
Yeah.
they feel it, but they don't feel it the way that Jesus really meant it.
They don't have the true connection because they don't know that they have the connection with God, even. And if there's no real connection with God, there's just a hope that God won't punish me. That's not enough.
That's right.
That's bullshit. What is that?
Bullshit. It's
Bullshit.
bullshit. I call bullshit. I call bullshit on a lot of stuff. And so thank you, Shelley.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sweetheart.
thank you, thank you. I appreciate you, and we must stay in touch.
We will.
Okay.
All right.
You have a
Love you,
good night.
sister.
I love you.
Take care, soul
Oh,
sister. Bye bye.
you too. Bye bye.